Hello and welcome to the Plus One interview of After the Whistle. Today we have a special guest. We have sports writer and reporter for WEEI, Josue Pavon. He's here with us via telephone. How you doing, Josue?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out.
No problem, man. Glad for us to have this chat. We got a lot to talk about in this short time we have. So, first off, let's talk about New England Patriots. The first two preseason games in the books so far. What have you seen that you've liked from them, and what have you seen that they need to improve on?
So heading into this regular season, I knew the defense was a bit of a concern for me, and I'm still a little concerned about it. Not because, in terms of the long run, what we'll see especially out of the safety. I mean, these are guys that we can rely on, of course, McCourty, Harmon, Patrick Chung. But what worries me the most is if one of those guys goes down, how is this defense going to recover? And it's going to be a long season in terms of the ups and downs. In my opinion, that doesn't mean am I counting the Patriots out of not making the Super Bowl again? Of course not. The possibility is, of course, there as usual with this team. But I think it's going to be a challenging season. The ups and downs. I see how Brady's going to respond. It's obviously going to be crucial. But overall, I'm feeling pretty confident going in. I do expect them to struggle a bit. I think the first few weeks there are teams that can certainly knock them off, especially what they're able to do defensively. You got Texas, you got the Jags, the Lions. It's going to be challenging, but I can't wait to see how everything unfolds.
One of the concerns for me, but we saw it in the Super Bowl, is the lack of a pass rush. Do you think the addition of Adrian Claiborne and some of the younger guys, they stepped up in the second preseason game, getting 8 sacks? Do you think those guys, will have what it takes during the season to get a consistent pass rush? Because that's one of the things I was really looking at when I looked at this team.
Yeah, I think that's something that's going to be rectified by mid-season. I think in the beginning, it's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging for those young guys. But like I said, those teams that they're facing won't be easy. But I think that by mid-season or so, if this team goes, 2-2 out of the gate, or somewhere in 500 range, I don't think it's going to be time to hit the panic button. But I definitely think that those problems will be rectified long term.
Offensively, who are some key guys that we should pay attention to during the upcoming season?
Offensively, we have to see what happens with Edelman, after that suspension, how he responds. In the meantime, leaning on the younger guys to step up and contribute is going to be huge. We're going to have to see a lot out of Hogan. That's going to be a prime target for Brady during Edelman's suspension. We have to see how the other guys respond. And, to piggyback on that, someone like Des Bryant, I know it doesn't look like it's a possibility, because typically Patriots we probably would have been hearing rumblings heading into the regular season. But I think if this team does struggle in the beginning, which I do think is a strong possibility, I think Des Bryant is someone that they should seriously consider bringing in. I think that's going to help the Patriots' offense, especially the running game. I think having that deep threat can catapult this offense to put up big points, and I think that's obviously going to make things easier for the 41-year-old quarterback and Tom Brady.
Definitely, and the schedule isn't easy. The first 2 games, kind of some tough teams. They're going to be playing against Houston and Jacksonville. It's going to be the first month of the season. It's going to be a little tough for them, for me.
Absolutely, of course. If this team goes 500 in the first 6 games or 4 games, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. But I do think obviously, we've seen in the past that people do tend to panic. We're going to revisit the conversation of how much does Brady have left in the tank. The same thing we've seen in the last few seasons. But, of course, we also saw what happened last year in terms of how far they got in the playoffs. So that's always a possibility with this team and a likelihood with this team. And, the relationship between Brady and Belichick is going to be a storyline throughout the entire season. People will keep a close eye on those two and see how they're able to work things out. I do think this is natural for any organization. 2 guys that have been working together for over a decade. I don't care what sport we're talking about. This happens everywhere. I don't think a lot of franchises have I don't think a lot of franchises you see this level of success, obviously, the way you've seen between a player and a coach. But I just think friction is just inevitable, any sport. And that's going to be something that I think these two can work out, because at the end of the day, there's one common goal that they seem to have a high successful rate at achieving, and I expect to see this somewhat struggle out of the gate, but I do think in the long run they'll be all right.
Definitely. Switching gears a little bit, the Boston Red Sox, they've had quite the season so far. They're in first place in the AL, first place. They got the best record in the major leagues. The playoffs are right around the corner. So what have you seen from this team that's really impressed you?
That lineup, man. I mean, listen, we've seen things from these guys. We see a 1-2 punch that's so similar to Ramirez and Ortiz. It just the smell of a World Series appearance is just reeks out of these two guys and Betts and of course the guy who's surprised everyone in the middle of that lineup. I think the only concern for me is the bullpen. Which one of these guys are going to step up big? Especially after seeing how they looked against the Cleveland Indians. I mean, that's obviously a team that could be waiting for them in the ALCS, and the bullpen is going to have to step up. I mean, we're going to have to find out who's going to be the guy that could bridge the gap to get, the game to Barnes and Kimbrel at the end. And I think that's the only concern I have heading into the postseason is the bullpen. Where does Joe Kelly stand? Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be the go-to guy out of the bullpen? Evaldi is also a big question mark. Eduardo Rodriguez, how's he going to respond? Because they're going to need his hand, or his arm, I should say, in the starting rotation. So I think those are my concerns heading into the postseason. But I do feel very confident about this lineup, this batting lineup that I think has shown that when they're backed against the wall, those last few innings, they are able to respond. They've come out of big comebacks throughout the regular season, and I expect to see the same thing in the postseason.
Yeah, definitely. And my only concern with the Red Sox is the health of Chris Sales because, he's getting injured here and there, and I just want to be hopeful that during the postseason he's completely 100% healthy and he could be ready to go for the postseason run because he's been in and out of the lineup, getting on the DL and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think some of it has to do with just rest. They want to make sure he's 100%. Obviously he's the most important arm that they have. And then of course we have to see what happens with Price, how he responds, because they're going to need his arm in the playoffs. But I think when it comes down to it, the lineup is what's going to help them the most. I mean, we've seen this team do things that we haven't seen, at least from the batting order, for a long, long time. Since the 2013 team that was led by David Ortiz, that surprise championship run that they were able to put together. So I think we'll see something very similar in terms of relying on the offense to sort of catapult them to success in the postseason. But hey, Cleveland's going to be a tough matchup. I mean, it's the only team that I really see that gives them a legitimate threat. And of course, what we saw this week, just raises those concerns even higher.
And quickly, we only got about a minute left. Just quickly, overall, Celtics and Bruins off season. Just a quick overview from your perspective.
Successful. I don't know. I mean, in terms of like a big splash, I don't know what people were expecting, especially out of the Bruins camp. But you look at what the Celtics have accomplished, bringing in Marcus Smart. That was the main priority. They got that done. They have guys in the fold that are going to be able to play right away. And this is the most I've been looking forward to this Celtics season more than since 2007, 2018. This team is destined to go to the NBA Finals. I think that's going to be their destination. I think that they will reach that. I also think that it's not going to be as easy in terms of trying to figure out how to divvy up minutes and divvy up touches. But I think at the end of the day, the talent is there, and it's them to lose. In terms of winning and representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals.
All right, awesome. All right, thank you so much, Jose, for calling in. We'll definitely get back in you sometime during the middle of the season, during football season. Thank you for calling in, and have a great day, sir.
Sounds good, McCall, man. Anytime.
All right, you guys have been watching the Plus One interview with Josue Pavon, sports writer and sports reporter for WEEI. We're going to toss it back to Brian.